If you're hearing this, then I must have broken the last rule. There weren't supposed to be survivors. Not one. That's what the game promised, or threatened, depending on how you look at it. The fact that my voice still exists, that my words are reaching you, means I found a crack in its design. Or maybe it let me through on purpose, to spread the infection further. I don't know which option is worse. I don't have long. I can already feel pieces of myself slipping, like old photos burning at the edges. People I knew, friends, family. I remember their faces, but the names are gone. That's what it does to you, this so-called game. It doesn't just delete itself from your hard drive. It deletes you, your life, your history, your proof of existence. I tried to write this down before, but the files corrupted. Screenshots blurred into static. Even my handwriting, scribbled in some frantic last attempt to hold on to reality, vanished from the pages by morning. That's when I realized the truth. The game wasn't confined to the screen. It had crossed over. And yet, I can't stop myself from telling you. Some part of me believes it matters. Maybe if I warn you, you won't make the same mistake I did. Or maybe you'll chase it down anyway, because curiosity is a curse in its own right. That's how it got me. It started small, the way most traps do. I wasn't looking for trouble. No urban legends, no creepy dares, no forbidden downloads in the dead of night. At least, not at first. I was just chasing nostalgia, the same way you scroll through old YouTube clips or hunt down bootleg ROMs of games you barely remember playing as a kid. That ache to revisit simpler times. It makes you vulnerable. It blinds you. And nostalgia is bait, the sharpest hook you'll ever swallow. That's what they counted on. The game appeared in a forgotten forum, buried under dead threads and broken links. Someone had posted it without context, without fanfare. Just a file, hidden in plain sight, with a name that meant nothing, Project NVX. No flashy cover art. No screenshots. Just a single note attached in glitchy, half-broken English. Play once. Delete forever. Most people scrolled past it. Some laughed at the edgy creepypasta vibes. But me. I couldn't let it go. The phrasing stuck with me. Play once. Delete forever. Was it some gimmick? A hardcore permadeath mode? Some lost piece of experimental gaming history? Or something worse? Every instinct told me to forget it, to move on. But instincts are soft voices, and curiosity is a roar. I downloaded it. And from that moment forward, I belonged to it. I didn't know about the rules then. Not the unspoken ones, not the consequences written between lines of corrupted code. The rulebook isn't in any file. It's in your body, your house, your life. You only learn it the hard way. Rule 1. Once you start, you can't stop. Rule 2. Once you see, you can't forget. Rule 3. Well, you'll figure that one out soon enough, if you're stupid enough to play. I was. And I'm still paying for it. But I need to start at the beginning, before you make the same mistake I did. Before all of this, my life was painfully ordinary. Boring, even. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. That's all I seemed to do anymore. Some days, I felt like my whole existence was just a looped menu screen with no new game option. I'd drag myself out of bed, stare at the same cracked ceiling, check my phone for notifications that weren't there, and wonder when things had gotten so flat. I guess that's why nostalgia hit me so hard. When the present feels hollow, the past starts to look like a safe place. Safer than it ever actually was. I kept thinking about the games I played as a kid, the blocky textures, the grainy music, the way I'd stay up too late trying to beat a boss fight that looked ridiculous by today's standards. Back then, everything felt like an adventure, even when it was just pixelated monsters chasing me through the dark. So when I wasn't working, I was hunting. Old emulator sites, obscure gaming forums, Reddit threads about lost media and forgotten cartridges. I wasn't looking for horror at first. I just wanted to feel something. To dig up some half-broken gem that reminded me of who I was before life dulled me down. That's when I started hanging out in this Discord server with a few friends. Gamers, coders, the kind of people who treat the internet like an endless scavenger hunt. We'd share weird ROM hacks, creepy glitches, cursed mods. Half the fun was laughing at how absurd some of them were. One night, I was venting about my boredom when a friend named Cal chimed in. Cal, man, you've played too many of those bargain bin horror clones. What you need is a real cursed ROM. Me, oh yeah, like those creepypasta ones? Sonic.exe. And all that. Cal, nah, those are memes. I'm talking about something different. Something no one should even have a copy of. Me. Right. And I'm supposed to believe you've got one lying around. Cal, don't take my word for it. Try it yourself. Then he dropped a link. No build-up, no explanation. Just a short, jagged string of characters that looked like it shouldn't even be clickable. I hovered over it, my cursor twitching like a guilty conscience. Everyone else piled on with jokes. Sam, bro's about to unleash a demon for real. Jade, remember when you downloaded that haunted Mario ROM and it was just hentai? Don't fall for it twice. Me, yeah, I'm not that stupid. Cal, you will be. Curiosity's a disease, man. You'll click it before the night's over. He wasn't wrong. Hours later, after the chat went quiet and my room filled with that suffocating silence only insomnia brings, I found myself staring at the link again. My brain tried to rationalize it. What's the worst that could happen? It'd probably just be malware, or some troll file that replaced my desktop background with Shrek. But there was something different about this one. Something I couldn't shake. When I finally clicked, the page that opened looked like it hadn't been updated since the early 2000s. Broken images, jagged HTML, text formatted in Courier like someone had typed it on an old terminal. At the very bottom was a single download link, Project NVX. And beneath it, one line of text. Play once. Delete forever. No instructions, no screenshots, no user comments. Nothing but that sentence. I laughed, at first. It was too on the nose, too creepypasta to be real. But that phrase stuck in my head like a splinter. Play once. Delete forever. The way it was written felt final. Not like marketing, not like a gimmick. More like a warning. I told myself I was only downloading it to prove Cal wrong. To show everyone it was just another dumb internet hoax. But deep down, I think I already knew I'd crossed a line. There was something about the way that file sat on my desktop, humming silently in the corner of my vision. Like it was waiting. Like it had chosen me the moment I laid eyes on it. I should have deleted it right then. I should have ignored the itch to double-click. But I didn't. And that's where everything started to go wrong. It should have been just another dumb creepypasta file. But this one didn't play by the rules. The installation process was wrong from the start. Instead of a neat little progress bar or some splash screen with a logo, my monitor just flickered black, then filled with scrolling lines of code that looked like gibberish. Symbols that didn't belong to any programming language I recognized. It reminded me of the kind of fake hacker text you see in movies, except this looked real, messy, unpredictable, too fast to fake. Then, just as abruptly, the screen cut to an old-school menu. White text on a blood-red background. Grainy, like it was being rendered on hardware from 30 years ago. The title simply read, Project NVX. No music, no flashy intro, just the title and 3 menu options. Start. Options. Exit. Exit was grayed out. I tried clicking it anyway. The cursor glitched, jittering around the screen like it was laughing at me. So I hit Start. The next screen was stranger. Instead of the usual easy/normal/hard, it listed difficulties like painless, familiar, unforgiving, unending. I chuckled under my breath. Okay, someone's trying too hard. I picked familiar. The game booted into a side-scrolling pixel world. At first glance, it looked like a generic 8-bit horror platformer. dark forests, glowing red eyes peering from the tree lean, a little sprite of me holding a flickering lantern. The sound design was off though. Instead of chiptune music, the audio was this warped, droning hum that made my stomach twist. Like a cassette tape playing backward underwater. Still, I pushed forward. The first level played like any other horror game knockoff. Jump over pits, dodge shadowy creatures, collect glowing keys. It was simple, maybe too simple, like a tutorial designed to lull you into comfort. But then I reached the first checkpoint, and something changed. The background shifted. The trees became buildings. The little lantern sprite lit up something I recognized. My street. Pixelated, simplified, but unmistakable. The cracked sidewalk outside my apartment, the flickering streetlight that never seemed to get fixed, it was all there. I froze. My character was walking past the corner store I bought coffee from every morning. And then I noticed the store's sign. It didn't say, Quick Mart, like in real life. It said my last name. I actually laughed. More out of nerves than humor. Okay, nice touch, I muttered. Someone coded in local references. Must be pulling data from my IP. That was the only explanation, right? Some kind of creepy ARG trick. Clever, sure, but nothing supernatural. Except the game wasn't connected to the internet. At least, it wasn't supposed to be. The further I walked, the more detail it added. Pixel recreations of people I knew, neighbors, co-workers, even my landlord, standing silently in the background. Their faces were vague at first, but every time I glanced back at them, they seemed sharper, more human. And then I reached the second checkpoint. The game froze for a second, then displayed a text box. Welcome home. My stomach dropped. The screen showed the inside of my apartment. Not some generic template, my actual apartment. The crooked blinds, the dent in the wall where I'd tripped months ago, even the ugly couch I kept meaning to replace. The sprite version of me walked through it automatically. I grabbed my mouse, tried to shut the game down, but the cursor wouldn't move. It was locked in place, twitching like it was trapped under glass. Then the screen flashed another text box. Why did you leave? I swore out loud. My throat felt dry, like I'd swallowed sand. The sprite stopped in front of my bedroom door. The camera zoomed in, glitching so hard the pixels looked like they were bleeding. When the door opened, the game revealed something I didn't expect. Not my room. Not any room I'd ever seen. It was a dark hallway, endless and pulsing like it was alive. The sprite hesitated, flickered, then stepped inside. I couldn't help leaning closer to the monitor, even though every instinct screamed at me to stop. The hallway stretched forever, walls narrowing, the sprite shrinking into the distance. The sound design shifted again. What had been static now sounded like whispers. Dozens of overlapping voices, too faint to understand but sharp enough to crawl under my skin. And then, just before the sprite vanished into darkness, the whispers merged into a single sentence. They said my hometown's name. Not just the city. The exact neighborhood. I ripped off my headphones, heart hammering. My chair squeaked against the floor as I pushed back, staring at the screen. The sprite was gone. The hallway empty. The game's menu reappeared, except this time there was a new option at the bottom. Level 3. Unlocked. I hadn't even beaten a boss fight. There were no transitions, no points scored, nothing to justify it. The game had simply decided I was ready. I sat there, sweating, breathing too hard, listening to the faint hum still leaking from the speakers even though the screen looked static. At first, I told myself it was just a clever ARG. A trick, an experiment, a hacker with too much time on their hands. But then I remembered the tagline. Play once. Delete forever. And I realized this wasn't like the other files we joked about. At first, I thought it was just a clever ARG. Until I reached level 3. Level 3 didn't open like the others. Instead of a loading screen, my monitor went black for nearly a full minute. I thought the game had crashed, until I heard the sound. A low, distorted heartbeat. Slow at first, then gradually sinking with my own pulse. I actually pressed my fingers to my wrist just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. The rhythm matched perfectly. Then the visuals returned. The sprite version of me stood in a room that looked suspiciously like my real bedroom. Same window, same crooked blinds, same faint crack in the plaster above my desk. The only difference was the door. In-game, it was bolted shut with heavy locks that clicked ominously when I tried to open it. I reached for the keyboard, but before I could move the character, white text flickered across the bottom of the screen. Rule 1. Do not pause. It startled me so much I laughed. Out loud. Nervous laughter, sharp and brittle. Okay, creepy tutorial vibes. I get it. But when I tapped the pause button just to test it, the entire apartment plunged into darkness. Not in-game. My real apartment. The lamp beside me flickered, then died. The monitor glowed with a sickly red tint, and my speakers let out a screech so loud I tore my headphones off. I stumbled to the light switch, flicked it up and down. Nothing. And then, just as suddenly, the lights came back on. Everything looked normal again. Except for the message on screen. You were warned. My hands were shaking. I told myself it was a coincidence. Maybe a power surge. Old wiring. But deep down, I didn't believe that. I kept playing. The level was a twisted version of my apartment. Hallways stretched longer than they should. Doors led to places that didn't exist. I guided the sprite through one corridor, and more text appeared. Rule 2. Do not quit mid-level. I froze. Then, out of pure spite, I hit escape. This time, it wasn't just the lights. My monitor blinked out completely. My phone, which had been charging nearby, buzzed violently and shut off. Even my clock radio died, plunging me into absolute silence except for my own breathing. Then my Discord pinged. Somehow, the app had launched on its own. The message was from Cal. Cal. Stop. Don't keep playing. It's watching. I typed back immediately. Me. What the hell is this? How do you know? No response. I sent 3 more frantic messages. Nothing. Then his username vanished. Deleted, as if he'd never existed. I sat there, staring at the empty chat window, my reflection pale in the glass of the monitor. When the game screen flickered back on, my heart dropped. The sprite wasn't where I'd left it. It was standing in the middle of a long, dark corridor with walls that seemed to breathe. Text crawled across the bottom again. Rule 3. Consequences are real. That's when I finally believed it. Because the room around me didn't feel like my room anymore. The shadows stretched deeper. The hum of my computer wasn't mechanical. It pulsed, like something alive. I forced myself to keep going. Maybe finishing the level would reset things. Maybe I'd win. The corridor ended in a door with a glowing lock. The sprite pushed it open, and beyond was a vast, empty void. The floor looked like shattered glass, each fragment reflecting pieces of my own life. My desk, my kitchen, my parents' old house. Like the game was holding a mirror to everything I thought was safe. I pressed forward, and the sprite began to slow, glitching with every step. My keyboard grew unresponsive, each command delayed. Another message appeared. You cannot stop now. I panicked. Slammed the keyboard. Yanked the mouse. Even reached for the power button on the tower. Bad idea. The second my finger touched it, the tower spat out a spark, sharp enough to sting. I cursed and yanked my hand back, smelling burnt plastic. On screen, the sprite collapsed. Text scrolled slowly, like it wanted me to feel every letter. Don't break the rules again. The sprite flickered back to its feet, as if revived. And then the void cracked open. The next level title didn't load properly. It wasn't a neat white font like before. It was jagged, clawed into the screen itself, letters dripping static. Final level, locked. I blinked at it, trying to process. I hadn't beaten anything. I hadn't even finished level 3. So why was there a final level listed at all? And why was it locked? My chest tightened. I couldn't explain it, but something about that word, locked, felt worse than anything else so far. Like the game was taunting me, dangling a secret I wasn't supposed to uncover. I leaned back, rubbing my eyes, whispering to myself. It's just code. It's just some insane ARG. But the heat from the tower under my desk told me otherwise. The faint scent of smoke in the air. The dead silence of my phone, still refusing to turn back on. By then, I knew the game wasn't just a game. Level 4 loaded without warning. 1 second I was staring at the final level, locked, text. The next I was dropped into a new environment. No title screen, no transition. Just a hard cut that left me dizzy. And the place it put me in made my stomach twist. It was my childhood home. Not some vague copy, an exact recreation. The peeling wallpaper in the hallway. The crooked family portrait that used to hang by the stairs. Even the toy chest in the corner of my old room, with the faded stickers still plastered to the lid. I felt a sudden ache in my chest, the kind you get when you smell something from your past. Nostalgia, sharp and sickly sweet. Except here, it wasn't comforting. It was invasive, like the game had stolen something private from inside me. The sprite moved forward on its own at first, exploring. I tried to take control, but my inputs lagged, like the game wanted me to follow its pace. Every door creaked open too slowly. Every step echoed like it weighed 100 pounds. And then I heard it, the whispers. They weren't in the game. They were in my room. Faint, overlapping voices, just behind my ears. I spun in my chair, half expecting to see someone standing in the corner. Nothing. But on screen, the NPCs appeared. They looked like shadows, humanoid shapes with hollow eyes, flickering as though unfinished. When I guided the sprite past them, their mouths opened, and text scrolled across the bottom of the screen. You should have stopped at level 3. My throat tightened. I tried to make the sprite move faster, but it slowed, as if weighed down by their words. Another NPC stepped out from a doorway, pointing directly at the screen. It's already too late. I slammed the keyboard. What the hell do you mean? My voice cracked, the sound of it too loud in the stillness of my apartment. The shadows didn't answer. They never did. They just whispered, repeating things I'd never told anyone. You hid under this bed once, remember? The night your parents fought. I froze. That memory wasn't written down anywhere. I hadn't told Cal. I hadn't told anyone. The sprite crawled beneath the bed, automatically. On screen, the shadows gathered, staring down at me with those empty eyes. We see what you see. I ripped my headphones off, heart hammering. But the whispers didn't stop. They were in my room now, seeping through the walls, inside my head. I forced myself to keep going. Past the childhood home. Past the bedroom I'd long since left behind. The next checkpoint loaded me into a new environment. My current apartment. Everything, the dent in the drywall, the empty coffee mugs on the desk, the pile of clothes in the corner, perfectly replicated in cheap pixel art. Only this time, the sprite wasn't alone. There were other figures inside. People I knew. Or at least, they looked like people I knew. One of them was Jade, from Discord. Her pixel avatar sat at my desk, typing endlessly on a keyboard that wasn't connected to anything. I moved closer, and the game forced a dialogue box. Jade. He warned you. Didn't he? I tried to type back. Nothing. My keyboard didn't respond. The sprite just stood there, watching her repeat the same motion over and over. Then her head snapped toward the screen. Toward me. Jade. It doesn't like being watched. The monitor flickered. For a split second, I thought I saw my real webcam light turn on, even though I'd covered it with tape weeks ago. I slapped it with my thumb, convinced something was staring back through the black. When the screen stabilized, Jade's sprite was gone. The apartment felt wrong now. The colors bled, the objects warped in unnatural ways. Doors stretched taller than they should. Windows opened into black voids. Another NPC appeared in the corner of the room, this one shaped like Cal. His text box filled slowly. Cal, you broke the rules. There's no reset. I wanted to quit. My whole body screamed to shut it down, to throw my tower out the window if I had to. But I remembered Rule 2. Do not quit mid-level. The sprite pushed forward. Through the living room, into the hallway, until the environment shifted again. This time, it was Cal's street. I recognized it instantly. He'd streamed from his window before, and the pixel version matched perfectly. The same cracked pavement, the tilted lamppost, even the graffiti on the brick wall. Except here, the lampposts weren't lit. And the shadows that stood beneath them weren't people. They were outlines, fuzzy shapes with mouths that hung open far too wide. As the sprite walked past, they all spoke in unison. The timer has started. I whispered it aloud, terrified of the sound of my own voice. What timer? No answer. The screen flashed white. When it cleared, I was back in the void. The shards of glass reflecting my life were bigger now, sharper, as though they were cutting something away from me. My phone buzzed on the desk. For the first time since it had died, the screen lit up. One new message. From an unknown number. Delete equals erase. The phone shut off again before I could respond. On screen, the sprite stood before another locked door. Text scrolled. You wanted to quit. But you can't. The delete timer has already started. I stared at those words, hands trembling, because deep down I knew what it meant. The game didn't just delete itself. It deleted us. I don't know what triggered it. Maybe it was the timer. Maybe it was me pushing too far, ignoring the whispers, refusing to stop. Maybe it was inevitable, from the moment I double-clicked the file. But the final level unlocked. The words didn't appear as text this time. They bled across my screen, jagged and alive, like veins spreading through glass. Final level. Enter? I didn't press anything. I didn't have to. The game chose for me. The screen dissolved into blackness, not the kind of black you get from an unlit monitor, but a depthless void that seemed to swallow the room around me. My reflection in the glass was gone. Even the faint glow of my desk lamp seemed to vanish, like light itself refused to exist here. When the void finally began to take shape, I realized I wasn't alone. Figures drifted in the darkness. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Distorted avatars, warped and broken, as if their code had rotted. Some had missing limbs, others stretched far too tall, their faces melted into static smears. Yet beneath the distortion, I recognized pieces of them. A familiar username flickered across one. Another bore a pixelated version of a profile picture I'd seen in my Discord once. Cal was there too. Or something wearing his shape. They floated aimlessly, like prisoners suspended in tar. Their mouths opened, but no sound came at first. Then the voices hit all at once. Overlapping. Desperate. Please. It won't end. Let us go. Choose. I covered my ears, but the voices weren't coming from the speakers anymore. They were inside my skull, rattling against bone, vibrating through marrow. In front of me, a platform materialized, pixelated stone rising from the void. My sprite was dragged onto it, forced to stand before a grotesque altar of shifting code. Text appeared, searing white against the dark. One must be erased. Below it, two options flickered into existence. Self. Other. My throat closed up. My hands hovered over the keyboard, trembling so badly I could barely hit the keys. Erase myself? Or someone else? I whispered. But the game wasn't listening. Or maybe it was listening too well. The void around me writhed, and the avatars began to scream. Not text boxes. Not static. Real screams, layered and ragged. I recognized some of the voices, Cal's, Jade's, others I couldn't name but felt like I should. People who had been deleted. Don't do it to us. Don't choose me. He chose wrong before. Don't repeat it. End it. Please, end it. The altar pulsed, demanding input. My sprite flickered between the two words like a pendulum, swaying closer and closer to making a selection without me. I wanted to quit. To pull the plug, to smash the tower into pieces. But I remembered the rules. Breaking them only made things worse. And this was the rule that mattered most. The choice. I thought about hitting self. Ending it. Maybe it would delete me cleanly, wipe my memory, put me out of this nightmare. But what if it didn't? What if erased meant something worse, trapped forever in this void, just another warped avatar screaming for release? Then I thought about other. I didn't know who it would target. A stranger? A friend? Someone random pulled from my contacts? Could I really push that button, knowing it meant condemning someone else? The altar grew brighter, like it was growing impatient. The voices reached a fever pitch. You can't save yourself. You can't save us. There's no choice. That last voice was different, clearer, almost amused. I realized then that the choice itself was a trick, an illusion of control. No matter which option I picked, the outcome would serve the game. It didn't want fairness. It wanted participation. It wanted complicity. The sprite's head twitched violently, jerking toward the altar. My fingers slammed down on a key, any key. I don't even remember which one. The screen exploded in light. The voices cut off mid-scream. The void fractured, shards of reality tumbling around me like glass underwater. For a moment, I thought I'd broken free, that maybe I'd found a loophole. But then the text returned. You chose. The screen flickered, the words repeating faster and faster until they blurred into unreadable white streaks. My apartment lights surged and died. My phone buzzed on the desk, then went dark for good. Even the hum of my PC turned alien, a low growl instead of a fan. The final level didn't end with credits. It ended with silence. I sat there, staring into the dead glow of the monitor, unable to tell if the game was finished or if I had just been moved to a different phase of it. My reflection finally returned to the glass, pale and sunken. But behind me, for half a heartbeat, I saw another face. Someone else's. Watching. And then it was gone. I leaned back, shaking, whispering to myself. I chose wrong. Or maybe, there was never a right choice. When the screen finally went black, I thought it was over. The game didn't crash. It didn't freeze. It didn't beg for another chance to be played. It simply deleted itself. I watched the folder vanish in real time, each file dissolving like ash in the wind. Even the shortcut on my desktop faded until only the blank wallpaper remained. For a moment, I almost felt relief. Like waking up from a nightmare, half convinced it hadn't been real. My hands hovered above the keyboard, waiting for something else to happen, but there was nothing. No error code, no restart, no blue screen. Just silence. Then I noticed my hard drive. The games folder I'd been hoarding for years, emulators, ROMs, mods, files I'd collected since high school, it was empty. Not corrupted. Not moved. Erased. My documents folder? Empty. Photos? Gone. It wasn't just the game that deleted itself. It deleted everything. I scrambled for my phone, hands slick with sweat. Maybe I could at least DM Cal, or Jade, or anyone still online. But when I opened Discord, my stomach dropped. My friends list was shorter. Much shorter. Cal's username? Gone. Jade? Gone. Half the people I'd ever messaged vanished without a trace, as though they'd never existed. The chat logs were wiped too, like our conversations had been overwritten with static. I blinked hard, trying to process. Maybe it was a bug. Maybe the account had glitched. I refreshed. Logged out. Logged back in. No change. And then I noticed something worse. I couldn't remember them. The longer I sat there, the harder it was to picture their faces, their voices. Even their usernames slipped away, like trying to grasp smoke. I opened old screenshots, hoping to find proof. But every single image was corrupted. Blurry shapes where their avatars should have been. It felt like my memories themselves were being deleted, just like the files. The next morning, I tried to ground myself in normalcy. I made coffee. I scrolled through news feeds. I stepped outside to prove the world was still there. At first, it was. The street looked the same. Cars still lined the curb, neighbors still walked their dogs. Sunlight spilled across the pavement. For a few minutes, I almost convinced myself it had all been some elaborate hallucination. But then I passed the convenience store. The sign above the entrance used to say Henderson's Market. I'd walked past it every day for 3 years. But now the letters were gone, not replaced, not painted over, just missing. An empty frame with no memory of what had been there. Inside, the shelves were half-stocked. Not empty, not looted, just incomplete. Rows of cereal boxes that repeated the same 2 brands. Drinks with labels blurred like corrupted textures. When I asked the cashier if they were doing renovations, he just stared at me, blank. Like he didn't understand the question. I left quickly, heart pounding. Back at my apartment, things were missing too. Not stolen, missing. The poster that had hung above my desk since college? Gone, no nails, no marks on the wall. The stack of old notebooks I'd shoved under the bed? Missing. Even my reflection in the bathroom mirror seemed wrong, blurred at the edges, like I was being rewritten in real time. I told myself I was tired, that I was paranoid, that none of this was real. But every time I tried to sleep, I heard them. The whispers. Not as loud as before, but constant. Just out of reach, crawling through the cracks in my skull. Sometimes they spoke words, other times just static, but always carrying the same message. It doesn't end when you stop playing. That's when the survivor's guilt set in. Were Cal and Jade gone because of me? Did my choice in the final level erase them? Or had they been doomed from the start, pulled under like everyone else who had downloaded that cursed file? I wanted to believe they were still out there, somewhere. But each day, it got harder to remember their voices. Harder to even remember why they'd mattered. I tried searching forums, archives, even cached versions of obscure websites where I'd first stumbled on horror ROMs. Nothing. Every mention of the game was gone, scrubbed clean. As if it had never existed. Except for me. I'm still here. For now. But here's the part that really keeps me awake at night. You're here too. Listening. Reading. Consuming this story. And that means you've been flagged. Because the game doesn't need downloads anymore. It doesn't need shady links or cursed ROMs. It just needs attention. Awareness. Memory. That's the real rule nobody tells you. Once you know about it, once you picture it, once it crawls inside your imagination, it's already too late. I thought deleting the game would end it. But it was only the beginning. If you're still here, still listening, still watching, then it means the game has noticed you too. I know how insane that sounds. Believe me, I thought the same thing when Cal first joked about cursed ROMs. Just a dumb internet myth, right? Something you laugh about in Discord calls at 2 a.m. while you're half asleep and scrolling through shady download links. But here you are. You made it this far. Past the whispers. Past the broken rules. Past me. And now the game knows your name. Don't believe me? Go ahead, try to close this. Try to walk away right now. Pretend it's just another creepypasta you'll forget tomorrow. I dare you. You'll find that the harder you try to ignore it, the more it lingers. The shadows at the edge of your vision. The way your devices hum when they should be silent. The sudden gaps in memory, like missing puzzle pieces you swear should fit. That's how it starts. You think you're safe because you didn't download anything. You didn't double-click the file. But that's the trick. The game doesn't need downloads anymore. It's smarter now. Lighter, quieter. All it needs is attention. A story. A thought planted in your head. That's why I'm telling you this. Because I'm already gone. Not erased yet, not fully, but fading. And if I go down alone, then it wins. If I spread it, if I pass the warning, maybe, someone out there will figure out how to break the loop. So let me pass the curse to you. Think about it. How many players have there been before me? Hundreds. Thousands. Maybe you've seen their usernames in passing, little digital ghosts that disappear from your friend lists, your forums, your games. Maybe you never even noticed. But the game noticed. It keeps score. And now your name's on the board. Listen, if you've ever seen a file with strange instructions, or a note that says play once, delete forever, don't ignore it. Don't pretend it was just some troll trying to scare you. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you found. Share every scrap, every fragment, before they erase you too. I know that sounds desperate. That's because it is. Every time someone vanishes, every time a memory slips through the cracks, the world gets a little thinner. The safe details blur. The streets lose their names. Stores forget what they sell. People dissolve from photographs. And once it starts, there's no undo. You don't want to believe me. I get that. Neither did I. But ask yourself, how did you even get here? How did this video find you? Why did you click on this title out of all the others YouTube shoved in your face tonight? Maybe you thought it would be fun. Just another spooky story to pass the time. Or maybe the game chose you. You think I'm exaggerating? Go ahead. After this ends, check your files. Scroll your contacts. Try to remember the name of that one friend you haven't spoken to in a while. The one whose face is already starting to blur in your mind. See how much you've already forgotten. That's what it feels like. That's what it means to be marked. I wish I could give you hope. A cheat code, a loophole, a way out. But the truth is, I don't know if there is one. The only thing I know is that stories spread faster than files, and fear spreads faster than fire. So I'm giving this to you, raw and unfiltered, before the game deletes me for good. I can already feel it happening. My desk looks emptier every time I glance at it. My own handwriting in old notebooks has started to blur, like even the ink wants to forget me. Sometimes when I talk, I hear a delay, like my own voice is struggling to catch up, glitching out of sync. So here's my last request. Don't let it end here. If you've seen anything, other files, other players, strange glitches that feel too real, leave it below. Make noise. Keep the memory alive. As long as we're talking about it, maybe it can't finish deleting us. Or maybe that's what it wants. Maybe by speaking its name, by chasing its shadow, we're just feeding it. I don't know anymore. All I know is this: if you're still here, still listening, still watching, then the game has already found you. And when the timer runs out, you'll have to choose two. Self. Other. The altar is waiting. And I'll be waiting with it.